Hey, take us through the results for this round of matches, Kane.
Well, there's only one, TJ, the one that matters. Bailey Fritsch kicked 6. What a grand final performance from him. Christian Petracca, look at his numbers. Grand final record, 39, a career best for him with 2 goals. A North's fifth medalist. He'll join us, but the most explosive display of third quarter football you have ever seen. Late, the game was just ebbing and flowing, Lordo, and what a performance it was out of the middle of the ground for the D's. There's the scenes on the final siren.
Yeah, stunning scenes, and they've just handled it really well, even though it's been a 57-year drought. They haven't played that way. They haven't looked nervous at any stage. Max Gawn's a perfect captain for this group because he's always so relaxed, isn't he, Bill?
Fun.
Yeah. Fun, yeah. And that's what I even watched them in the rooms before the game. They're playing a bit of basketball.
Yeah, exactly.
There was smiles in the rooms at the Simon Goodwin pre-game meeting, and you see the connected group that they've got here. So an outstanding final series. They did have a little lapse late in the year, but all good sides have that at some stage, and they peaked at the right time of the year. And Kane, I want to talk to you later about Darren Burgess, because I see he got in the ear of Simon Goodwin just as they look to hit the lead. There it is. They're about to run over the top, and this is what you play football for, this moment. It's a moment they will never, ever forget, TJ.
No, indeed, and we'll be catching up live on the program, thanks to Damo and Kano there, with Christian Petracca, Simon Goodwin, Angus Brayshaw, Clayton Oliver among our special guests. Guys, just want to head back to you. It's turned a bit nasty over there, has it, the weather?
Yeah, it has, TJ. It bucketed down about an hour after the game and then stopped. But Kane's going beautifully. It is forecast. It is forecast. So it could be interesting in these next 2 hours, particularly with someone who's got goggles on already. So
yeah,
good times.
Well, you might want to tell Mary Poppins on your left there that he needs to. Someone's worked it out for him there with the umbrellas. So, hey, what we need to do is actually put into context now that premiership drought is over. Where do we stand now with those teams that are really battling for success on the greatest stage of all? And look, St Kilda, it's all theirs now, 54 years.
The only one left, isn't it? Footscray got theirs done not that long ago. So St Kilda's turn now. Well done to Melbourne. Probably the most complete final series anybody's ever seen in recent times.
What do you reckon about the... and as I said, you two guys have been on the ground over there for a good... Well, for most of the final series for you, Damo, and for the past couple of weeks for you, Kane. Just give us a sense, I mean, because everything that I've seen coming out of Perth suggests they genuinely embraced the occasion. It wasn't sort of a case of bandwagon jumping.
No, TJ, you're right, and it's hard for us to relay that back to you and others in Melbourne. It was a genuinely special time to be in Perth, and as the game built up, and people talked about the break, but what it did, it reset Perth itself, and by the time the game started last night, it was ramped and amped up to the point of something like I've never seen even in Melbourne, and I actually mean that. It was so special. It was a vibrant feel to the town. They were so grateful and gracious that it was in their town, and yeah, they've had the time of their lives. And as I said, though, it is hard, though. It's difficult to relay the excitement that was attached to that and also being able to experience part of it. And Kane got it for the last couple of weeks. And, yeah, he clearly witnessed, as I did, just the special nature of what this 2021 grand final was about.
Just looking at the entertainment there at halftime as well, the twilight spot, as much as there's debate about it, and it would have felt like a long time in Melbourne yesterday, but when it is a twilight game in Victoria at the MCG, I think the people will start to embrace it. It's a much better spectacle in that twilight spot. Still enough time to celebrate after. The build-up didn't feel too long over here yesterday, so I think that will end up being the slot that the AFL Grand Final was played in. Well,
just on the entertainment, before we get into the Norm Smith, I reckon they nailed it last night. There's not very often we sit here and say that they nailed the Grand Final entertainment, but Eskimo Joe, Birds of Tokyo, John Butler... Sorry?
The Baker Boy.
Yeah. Everyone that actually contributed last night, I thought, did such a good job. And, of course, Colin Hay over in LA, that was beautiful. So, no, well done to whoever put that together. I suspect it was the Gudinski son, wasn't it? Michael Gudinski's son, I think. Yeah.
But what Kane said there, I'm looking forward to being part of a twilight grand final in Melbourne. I'm not sure if it'll happen. It's not going to happen next year. I think Gillen has committed to a day grand final. But to witness... the entertainment and all those things that Kane just touched on there, I want to see it.
Well, it's just... half-time was too long. And did you tell me this morning it was 7 minutes extra?
Extra 7 minutes.
I felt that was too long. And I don't know what impact that would have on the players, but as a spectator, I just thought, come on, let's just get back into it, as much as all I was enjoying the entertainment. But it's too long to wait for the day.
Yeah, long, especially here when there's nothing going.
But not if it's in our state. I think, did you find it was too long to wait there in Perth, Damo and Kano? But I'm sure you don't because of everything that's going on.
Yeah, again, Lord, if you're there, you can soak it up, can't you, and live it and experience it. And I look, now you've said it was 7 minutes long. Yeah, it felt 7 minutes long now I think about it. But in that moment, it didn't feel unnecessarily long.
Norm Smith voting last night was Christian Petracca's medal, as we know, 15 votes. But Bailey Fritsch kicked 6 goals, the most in 20 years in a grand final. Clayton Oliver, what a start he had. Christian Salem, I thought he was as clean as anybody when it was hot. And Caleb Daniel, 26 touches in the first half.
Did Petracca have 39 or 40 disposals?
Well, he ticked over to 40 on champion data, and then they deducted one. So I don't know what they do. They go through everything. He might have got a possession, a tight one that somebody else got. But it was disappointing because he had the record with Simon
Brownie,
Black
I think
at
Simon
39.
Black rang in.
Simon Black rang in, did he?
That's what happened. He rang champion data and they quickly changed it and removed one stat from Christian Petracca.
Well, how powerful was it? He was unbelievable. So he had 11 inside 50s, 9 clearances, 39 disposals. Wow. Kicked the first goal of the game, kicked another one after that, and it was just clear. It was absolutely clear. And as good as Bonsampili and these guys, McRae and Bailey Smith and that have been all year, Libba, they just couldn't handle the power and explosiveness of
he just runs through.
Yeah, he does.
Just runs through.
What a player he's become, and he owes a lot to this man, Simon Goodwin, the first coach who exclusively coaches from down on the boundary line. Everybody you speak to loves Simon Goodwin. Everybody who's ever met him says how good of a bloke he is and how calm he is, what the players say, and everybody in tears down there. This is a guy that many people last year thought was going to be sacked. They wanted him out the door. The same thing happened to Damien Hardwick. Then they started a dynasty. And when you look at the Demons' age group and where they are and who they are, this is the start for the Demons. This isn't the top. Yeah, this is the start. And this man has been brilliant in that. And obviously Max Gawn, the spiritual leader and the captain down there. And those two together are a power unit.
And well done to the players, to the coaching staff. But what about the fans? This is what it's really about. The fans, especially back here in Melbourne, who only could watch it in their lounge rooms with their kids and family. And 57 years is a long, long, long time. So well done to all the fans there.
Well, I think so. And I think the thing that I really enjoyed about this grand final is that well, there you go. Look, that speaks for itself.
That's it. Neil Danaher.
Nathan Jones there
on FaceTime out on the ground, which was fantastic.
But you didn't really find too many Melbourne supporters or Footscray supporters sooking up with the fact that we didn't have it. We resigned ourselves to the fact we weren't going to have it, and everyone made the most of their situation. Right. We've all got mates who are Melbourne supporters, and you just couldn't be more pleased for them.
You want the AFL to take it on the road, Bill, don't you?
It's a suggestion. Every 4 or 5 years after the success of Perth, you could go to Adelaide. It'd be magnificent in Adelaide. Then you go to Sydney. You could do that. I reckon it could work every 4 or 5 years. I know there's a contract locked in, but that worked in Perth. That was fantastic.
Where are you having the Sydney Grand Final?
Oh, they'll build a stadium by then. A nice big stadium. But
is Hobart getting one?
Not yet, when they get their team. But so, in Adelaide, it'd be very, very good.
Oh, there's no doubt Adelaide would do a fantastic job.
Brisbane was all right last year. Oh, all right. Maybe it wasn't.
Well, it felt a bit regional.
But it isn't the AFL. I think we've just got to look outside the square or box or whatever it is.
So you'd be happy for Geelong and Richmond to play at Blunston Stadium?
No, that'd have to be at GMHBA Stadium. That one.
Right. OK, then let's move on, shall we? Because, Damo, tell us about Jack Viney.
Yeah, it's an incredible story, TJ. Made his debut in 2013 and 13 of his first 14 matches as an AFL player were losses, and there were a whole lot more to come after that. He reflected on that aspect of his career last night in the aftermath.
My first year we won 2 games. My first game we got beaten by 80 points, second game 150 points. We were coming off the field, we had 40 strong scarves at us. We were the laughing stock of the competition. And now we just won a premiership first time in God knows how long, but I don't think it's going to fully sink in until we, we get out of the crowd and get inside and take a step back. Phenomenal. Yeah.
What's amazing about that is Geelong were into him. He had a chance to maybe leave and go to the Cats. Clayton Oliver, even last year, there was people were writing. This time last year, he was meeting with the Carlton Football Club, that he met with Patrick Cripps about potentially joining Carlton. So
Tom McDonald and Ben Brown. Well. He was a cast off.
Some amazing stories, and none bigger than this man, Bailey Fritsch. So what a game he had. The first person to kick 6 goals in a grand final since Darren Jarman in 1997. So it's not easy to do. It's more a midfield game, a tight game, but to kick 6 in a grand final, and he turned it. He kicked 2 goals in a minute to turn this game, and he just doesn't miss. He kicked 6 goals too. He did miss 1 late, but he's a beautiful kick for goal.
Kicked too early, didn't he too?
And I just want to show this rise in Bailey Fritsch as a footballer. It's staggering what he's done this year. Let's take a look at his record. So 17 goals in 18, 20 goals in 9, only 22 goals last year. I know they were shortened games, but then he's jumped to 59 goals.
Don't forget, when he came in, they started him at half-back. He started his career at half-back and then went forward.
It's hard to kick 5 goals in a granny, isn't it, Lordo?
Yes, Bill. Yeah.
How'd you feel when he went past that 5?
No, couldn't care less.
Kane, tell us about Luke Jackson. How was his game?
Amazing, TJ. If I was voting on the Norm Smith, I would have given him 1 vote, not for his massive numbers, but for the impact. And they just look more dynamic when he was in the ruck, and that's a big thing to say because of Gore's form, but they look more powerful out of the centre bounce, and that's where the Bulldogs struggled. So when it wasn't Stephen Martin in the ruck, they had to go to Tim English, and he wasn't able to have the impact that this man had. So 16 hit-outs, he had 14 disposals, that big contested mark, and his follow-up work. Like, he's a bit Brodie Grundy-esque with the way he gets around. He plays as an extra midfielder, and I just wonder whether clubs are going to go back to that genuine 2-ruck model now. They invested heavily, top 10 draft pick, they identified him, and his game on the biggest stage for a young player was phenomenal, and clearly he's a big leader already down there. It was a great performance from a young player.
He was huge, Kane, and I know when they drafted him, they knew they could play him ruck, centre-half forward, centre-half back or ruck rover, so he can play in multiple positions. Just want to highlight this final series of Melbourne, as dominant as we can remember another finals team. So this is the scores. So they've scored an accumulative 53 goals and 358 points in total to 25 goals. So they've more than doubled the scoring. So they score big and the other teams don't score at all. Let's take a look at the next graphic here of marks inside 50. So talk about a game plan and a system. He can coach from the bench because he just knows players are going to execute. So 17 marks to 4 against the Dogs in a grand final, 16 to 5 against the Cats, and 15 to 5. And I just want to show how that looks in vision. So when the Western Bulldogs win it, it's slow, it's long, it's down the line. You've got Lever, May, and also Gore who could have marked that late in the game. Look at this system. Petty is there. Half-backs pushing back, wingmen are pushing back, and it forces teams just to kick straight to Lever and May. On the flip side of that, when Melbourne win it, because they're so destructive through the middle, they charge. You've got Brown coming that way, Fritsch going that way. They have players that keep coming at you at different angles, and I think it's the midfield has 20-plus inside 50s. Again, you see Jackson calling for it long, Flitch calling for it, Neil Bullen's going deeper. It's very hard to stop, and their midfield overwhelms you to a point where, as a defender, Eastonwood doesn't know what to do. You've pretty much got to lock on. You can't lay off your men. They just kept coming at you and at you and at you to a point where they were just broken down. And you wonder, did this happen by chance? The Bulldogs going to ask, but their pressure and their midfield group just overwhelms you so much so that late in the game they just pile on goals. We saw it right through the final series, and this is the last one, TJ.
Did not miss either.
They don't miss, and I think they get easy shots, and they were spitting out through the centre of the stoppage, which just makes it too hard as a defensive group. So one of the more dominant final series I've seen.
And of course, so many people make mention of the 31, right? And so it should be made mention of. I mean, Ronald Dale Barassi has made that number synonymous, and not for the first time it has had such an influence in September. And so
a massive influence at that too.
Yeah, exactly. So well done, Lordo. Hey, look, even on a morning when we celebrate greatness, the greatness that is the Melbourne Football Club, not even the Volcano will take a morning off. This is going to be really interesting. What could you possibly volcano today?
Well, TJ, let me just put this down for a second, because I had a little inkling halfway through the third quarter. I got an insight into the show. Now, off the top, you guys were preparing to run my comments about the Western Bulldogs from 3 or 4 weeks ago. So I said they had no hope. I stood by the fact that they had no hope. So Brownless, Barrett, Lloyd, Brown, Jones,
I was with you.
and all of the producers that wanted to come up with some great opening to this show, the Volcano is for you. I was right, and you were wrong.
You were wrong.
Well done.
Geez, you would have been getting worried.
I tell you what, well, our producers were getting worried because I don't think the Bulldogs were allowing them anywhere near them. How have you pulled up? I think you've just exerted any ounce of energy that you actually had left after your marathon on Friday night, Kane.
Yeah, I'm sore, TJ. I feel every bit my age, my glutes, my calves, my back, and I'll be looking forward to sitting down and relaxing when this is done.
Yeah, well, you deserve it, that's for sure. All right, let's talk about the game itself, and we will talk about it in detail when we catch up with our special guests, not least, of course, the coach coming up very, very shortly. And obviously, guys, if you see any movement where you are, because you are actually at the resort where the players are, so feel free, if you see anyone walking by, just collar them and bring them on air if you will. But let's talk about their hot start.
Well, it was a hot start by the D's. 4 goals, 5 to 1 goal 2. And this is the first goal. Petracca did everything last night. Norm Smith kicks that goal, the first goal of the game, has 39 touches. But they're away. And good pressure from Cozzy it was early. Look at that. Turnover. Another goal there to Spargo, who waltzes in. There's another good pressure act here. Is this Barley Williams? Drops that mark. And then Fritsch just walks in. That's what pressure does to you. A bit of pressure, you drop marks that you shouldn't drop. They were away. Petracca 10, Oliver 13, and Salem was very good down back with 9 in that first quarter.
He picked up a vote in the Norm Smith.
He did.
Hey, Kane, a quarter time, I thought, how far Melbourne? But I thought the move of Chalo into the centre bounce turned things around, and their midfield got on top of the Dogs in the second quarter.
He changed it up, didn't he, out of the centre bounce. So Chalo got involved and it was Bonsampili. So we're seeing this here. So Chalo's ability to follow up and then go forward. He kicked 3 on the night, which is amazing, really, considering, you know, some of the patchy form that he had been in leading into that prelim final against Port. And it was Bonsampili. You can see him now. So those two working in tandem. And when he gets the footy, Bonsampili there in the forward half of the ground, he's devastating. Went forward, took 2 big contested marks inside 50. And went back and scored. And the game flipped like you wouldn't believe. Like the momentum swings in the first 3 quarters was as strong as we've seen in a grand final.
13 inside 50s in the second term. They kicked 6 goals, 3 the Dogs. Max Gore. We'd be talking about this if it was a close game. Now, the goal umpire backed himself in here. It looks like it's a goal. Max thinks it's a goal. There's behind the goals vision, which suggests it might be a goal. But the umpire does call it a behind. So if they overturn it and they look at it, maybe there's insufficient evidence, but goes straight down the other end. And this man inserts himself, as Kane said. 10 disposals in this second term, kicks 2 goals, and he brings the Bulldogs back into it to the point where he kicks a goal in the third quarter. They're 19 points in front. You start to think Marcus Bonsampili for the Norm Smith.
I reckon, Damo, just correct me if I'm wrong here, I'm completely out of line. In situations like that with Max Gore's goal, we've always sort of said we hope there's not a wrong decision that actually influences a grand final. I think there's a case for a captain's call, I think, in grand finals. And I just think in that situation, if you've got any doubt whatsoever and technology's not helping you, I think there should be a case mounted for a captain's call in a game like a grand final.
Yeah, I don't know about that, TJ. I had the same view as I think Max did. It looked like a goal. But TJ, I mean, you employ umpires to make that call. And look, the umpire was right under the goal post. Look, I don't mind the idea of a captain's call, but I don't know how the captain from 45 metres away could make that particular call on that particular occasion.
OK, thanks for your support. What about... I found this particular incident interesting, and I don't know. You tell me, again, I'm on a roll here, whether this could have been the catalyst for a turning point of some sort. Now, this was the incident with Caleb Daniel and Max Gore. So you've got this pocket dynamo of a Bulldog there, and it reminded me of that Ali, that famous Harley photo almost.
Standing over him.
Yeah, and so now, just the way he almost ragdolled him into the ground. Now, could have that been the turning point for the game there, or a turning point in that you're not going to do that to my captain and get away with it?
No. I don't think it's a turning point. I think it was just Caleb Daniel. It's a grand final. Stood over him. Would he do it again? He probably would do it again. Max Gore got up and he was fine, but I don't think it's a turning point in the game.
OK. All right. Now, I've got another one here that I'm going to...
Turn you, zipping too.
Yeah, this
Kano, the Bont.
TJ, what about this, though? Because the Bont went forward and kicked those 2 goals, as we mentioned, put the Western Bulldogs 19 points up in the third quarter. You're going to see it here. He was on fire. They put Oliver to him, but he couldn't go with him. So he kicks that, and this is the age-old debate, the celebration. They're on a roll, they're on fire. He comes off the ground, and then Brownie's going to tell us what happens next because, I don't know, last game of the year, they've just come off a week off. Surely you leave the best player to play 96% of that game. Rest him forward, just don't send him off because Brownie, what happened next was stunning.
Well, you want a turning point, TJ. It was in the middle of the ground late in the third term because Melbourne, they love to get the ball out the front of the contest. And the Bulldogs, the last time they played in the NCG, set up with two players that didn't allow that. And I thought in this third term, they had to set up the same. And I think this is where Melbourne won the game, but at the same time, the Bulldogs lost it in these moments towards three-quarter time. Have a look at the amount of space that Melbourne have got to work with. 13 points up at the moment. Oliver standing as a sweeper. They don't have a sweeper. They get sucked in. There's no sweeper. They get out the front of the contest. That's okay. It happens once. Now you go, okay, they've scored the last two goals. We need to now have a sweeper that they can't do that. The very next one, they don't have a sweeper again. Oliver doing the sweeping on the other side. Liberatore comes in, doesn't win the football. So you don't have a sweeper and they just go all the way down. Ben Brown takes a mark. Let's have a look at that one from behind. Liberatore, if he goes for this, he has to win it. Otherwise, you've got no support behind you. And this guy is the best in the competition at doing what he does. So you'd think at this point, you've learnt, nah, we don't have a sweeper. Liberatore again gets sucked in. All of a sudden, look at the three players on the outside. Don't have a sweeper. You pay the price against the Demons, which they did really well at the MCG back in round 19. And then this is the last one, 30 seconds to go. Again, they don't have the sweeper. Liberatore again gets sucked in. Three of them running. Oliver gets it. The game was over then.
That is exactly how they lost the game. Spot on, Brownie. What cost them the game? 9 goals from that area. And it's the reason the Dogs lost their last 3 matches of the season. Essendon got them that way. Hawthorn got them that way. Port got them. That's why it was a stunning turnaround in the finals. They tidied that up, but they were exposed by...
They didn't set up any differently. They didn't change anything. Bont, Liberatore, McRae, Treloar was in there. Did a message come from the bench? I'm not sure, because everything they set up the same. They ranked 17th for hit-outs over the course of the year, but they're ranked 2 for clearances, so they backed themselves in. But at some point in that third quarter, they needed to change what they were doing.
Yep, exactly. And this is the goal of the night. Guess who kicked it? Petracca. He done everything. First goal, Norm Smith. Have a look at this from the boundary. Just sizes up. Knew exactly what he was doing there. Well done, Petracca. Look, just read it well and meant that. Don't worry about that. Well done, Christian Petracca. What a night here.